up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. Appreciate you guys coming through. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there. Subscribe, because we're trying to bring you guys as much content as possible and keep the interviews coming. So please subscribe, share, like the content. And today, we have the honor and the privilege of being joined by Buckshot, Black Moon, Duck Down, so many titles, labels, amazing things. So Buckshot, thank you for coming through, sir.
You always gotta clap when you always gotta clap. Even President Trump get clapped. Come on.
Well, hopefully that won't be for much longer. But yes.
Oh, man. Buckshot, business, buck, or whatever you want to call me.
Yeah, but as everybody should know, does know, or is about to know, he's got phenomenal history and legacy in the game. So we're glad to, have him come through. We're going to go through a lot of his history, a lot of what he's doing now, and make it happen. So one thing I was always interested in, taking it all the way back to the early Black Moon, was how and why Fuck It Up didn't make it on to Enter the Stage.
What a question. Because Fuck It Up was made before we got a record deal. Fuck It Up was made. Are we gonna fuck it up? It was fucked up. Are we gonna fuck? Yeah, that was made before we got the record deal. Like before. So when we came in with it, we was just like, it was during the dark period. I call it the dark period, dark ages. Because if you look at who got the props, I wasn't in my dark ages. I wasn't in, if you look at who got the props, I wasn't in there. Meaning if things were starting to become black and dark. And when you look at how many MCs, it already went there. So how many MCs was like the start of the dark ages. That's why it still was light, but it was going dark. Like that's why I Got You Open was the dark. That was the midnight.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So my whole vibe was already going from just what, I wanted to play behind the scenes, and right when Biggie and, all these other MCs started to look at hip hop or their music as a job, in a sense. When I say that, I mean, they looked at it like, I have to do this like this. I have to make music for the girls. I have to make music for such and such. I have to talk about such and such in my music. If I don't, then X, Y, Z. And I didn't give a fuck about that because I didn't really care about being in front of the music industry anyway. So I was like the guy that just really didn't give a fuck. And I brought that into the music industry, and whoever picked up on it, picked up on it. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't that guy. I didn't give a fuck. Because I knew about the game, I knew about the industry, I knew too much. I knew way too much before. That's how I got a deal. That's how we got on. I knew a lot because I used to be an intern for MCA Records. So I knew a lot.
So given that there's so much right there, but let's start with the Sonics, because sonically, I remember when I got this single and it had Who Got the Props, and I remember Fuck It Up was so distinctive because compared to Enter the Stage, you were rapping so much faster. It was more aggressive. It was this whole different energy. Whereas Enter the Stage, lyrically, go ahead.
No, I said, yeah, toned down.
Yeah. So what changed in you that made that evolution happen so dramatically and so quickly?
Connecting with boot camp, meeting the rest of my boot campions, because Still created boot camp. I didn't create boot camp. Still from Smith & Wesson created the term, and they created the term boot camp because, remember, Timbs were out at the time, but everybody didn't wear them in the summer. You didn't wear Timberland boots in the summer. Are you kidding me?
Right.
And we did. And that's the reason why we started to become known as the boot camp. Like the camp of niggas that always wore boots all year, every damn fucking year, all around. So still created the term boot camp. And when boot camp came into play, if you notice, I went from $100 sneakers. I went from booming like a speaker with my $100 sneakers, my beeper. I went from that whole commercial. I wouldn't say commercial, but just what motherfuckers was doing in the streets and everybody was doing at the time. I just went totally left field from that, and I was happy. I was happy because it just felt real good. It felt natural, and it felt like I was in a place where I was comfortable at in my world. I didn't have to say. I didn't have to make a record and somebody say, "Oh, you didn't mention I got girls in my truck, you know, I got the world stuck." Blah, blah, blah. You didn't say that. You didn't say I got girl. You didn't need the 5 elements like politicians need when it's time to vote. Like healthcare, economy. Like you didn't need those same 5 elements. Bitches, money, cars, clothes. Like you didn't need that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You didn't need that. And when people tell me, yes, you do, or you're going to fail, I said, I won't fail myself, so I'll create it myself.
Well, it's funny you say that because working at interning at a record company, and now, obviously you've had tremendous success as a businessman yourself, but it's always funny to me when I hear people tell creative people like this isn't going to work or that's not going to work, when part of what made hip hop culture and rap music so special is that there were no rules in a lot of ways of what was going to work or not work because it was totally new and it was a whole different way to approach it. So coming from a creative, a business, and an artistic perspective, why do you think certain people have that mentality versus what you ended up doing and show that it did work?
Because those people wanted a record deal. It really is that simple. They wanted a record deal. And when I first got a record deal, I didn't get it based on, when I first got a record deal with Nervous Records, I didn't get that based on the premises of this is going to work. We heard the music. We love it. It's out of control, blah, blah, blah. We got it based upon Chuck Chillout having his own label and him liking us no matter what, I guess, was the case. And he signed us to Nervous Records. Chuck Chillout signed us, not Michael, not the owners of Nervous Records. They didn't know anything about what the hell we was doing. They were a house label.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nervous Records was owned by Sam Records, which is his father, which was a disco record company. So they didn't know anything about what we were doing.
Yeah. So what made Chuck Chillout think that, because he had been on, I think they were on Mercury, but what made, and he had been in major labels, you had been with MCA, what made you guys think that going with a house label was good for your career?
Because we had went to, when I was I became an intern at MCA because we went to shop our demo deal there to Hank Shockley. And there was an incident that happened where I just strictly boldly walked up in there and told them, I'm ready, I'm here for the job. My boys is out there giving out a demo, but I came for the job opening. And they didn't have any job opening. They were like, what the hell are you talking about? And I said, the job opening. They said, you mean the internship? We don't pay people for that. I said, nah, that's not a problem. I said, that's what I was talking about. And they told me come in Thursday, and I came in Thursday. And, from there, I just started to become aggressive on learning the business. I was doing, I did the Juice soundtrack. That was like my first project. My job was to collect all the music from all the rappers and bring it back to the label.
It's an amazing
You
sound.
know, huh?
It's an amazing soundtrack.
It was. It definitely was. Whether it was Rakim or, you know, it really didn't matter. It really didn't matter who it was. My job was to collect the music, and I was so amazed at the fact that I was collecting music, you know, from people like that, like Rakim and I mean, Orange Juice Jones didn't make the soundtrack, but I was collecting music from him and just a lot of people, just people that were on that soundtrack. And Hank Shockley would take the music, you know, he took the stuff and he did what he did, and you know, and I was given I was given that job by a guy named Phil Hayes, and Phil Hayes that's who worked at the label. That's who I was under. I was under Phil Hayes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was who I was under as an intern, and then you know, I didn't know anything about music, about the record label. I didn't know nothing about the music industry like that. When I walked out of Nervous Records, and I said, "F you," you know, you can kiss my ass, and if you want to do anything about it, get about your chair. And I left the room, and Drew Howe was in the other room, and I said, "You the only one here that's working all of our shit, right?" And he said, "Yeah, the Black Moon stuff is all mine." I said, "You want to own your own record label?" He was like, "Sure, I would." I said, "All right then. I'll see you tomorrow." And the rest, you know, Duck Down is history. I got it with him, and he taught me. I didn't know how to drive, and Drew taught me how to drive. I said, we made an agreement. I said, if you teach me how to drive, I'll teach you how to rhyme. And we made an agreement, and he taught me how to drive a stick shift, and I taught him how to do the highs and the lows and flows. And he got on a track called "You the Man" on the Into the Stage album. So that's how Drew Ha got on Into the Stage. Yeah.
Interesting. So you guys, even during the making of Enter the Stage, were already formulating, making your own exit?
You mean in before? Say that again. You mean like before? You mean like before? Before we left Into this? Before we left Nervous? Or you mean?
Yeah. When did you formulate the idea to Duck Down? Was that during?
94.
So the album was already out and had been out. Okay.
Yeah, the album was out, and the album was out, and I had got jerked by Chuck Chillout really, really bad. So I fired him. And I fired my management, and Duck Down started as Duck Down Management, and then we went into Duck Down Records after we left Nervous Records.
Okay. Well, I did want to ask you a few things about Enter the Stage because it's such a, in my opinion, phenomenal album. But I was always intrigued with the powerful impact you guys were talking about riding skateboards and different things.
Yeah, we was there. We was, we was on a lot of stuff early. That whole vibe and doing your own label. Nobody was on it. Nobody was on it back then. I don't know for who they was. Nobody was on it. Like nobody was down to mix the culture really hard like I was. Nobody. You can say you was, but who? Name them.
Right.
You know, I was the only one that came in with, you know, Caribbean partners from here, a Jewish partner from here, you know, a Spanish management from leading the label here, like, you know, nerds on the left, niggas that'll kill you on the right, you know, backpacks on one end, backpacks and skateboards on one end, killers on the other side. I was the only one really who came in and put all that shit together and said, no matter who the fuck you are, I don't really care.
Why do you think that weird assemblage of people didn't, or unusual assemblage of people appealed to you or worked for you?
Because I'm just a person that accepts all people, and I don't play by the rules. I don't play by no rules. I make up the rules because I'm the only one that's in charge of my destiny in life. I could follow your rules for 2 hours, but I just lost 2 hours of my life because I didn't make those decisions. So, you know what I'm saying? So now if you multiply that, it just becomes more and more and more and more. So I just really had the vibe of like, yo, I'm going to do my own thing, man. I was always a Blake. Blake is my last name. And all the Blakes do their own thing. All of them. My uncle, all of them. Ever since my grandmother. She had her own little nightclub. She was doing things like that. My father had his own construction company and more. My uncle got one now. My nephew got one. My cousin got his own, whatchamacallit. I'm so sorry. What's the culinary chef business? So I all of us Blakes, man, we don't play around. We don't do that. And I would be wrong if I tried to say it was just me, knowing that it's just in my Blake blood to not lay down my gun. Right. Just won't. I don't care how much money you offer me. Leo Cohen and Chris Lighty offered me $1 million to sign over to Def Jam, and I told them no. I walked out of the restaurant that day, and I told them no. You can't give me what I need and what I have to have. Your $1 million doesn't mean anything because It's not an offer of some money. It's giving me something that I don't need to work with. I can't work with that.
Well, I think it's important you say that because a lot of people, as you're aware, get blinded by the money and don't understand the power or the ownership or the long-term vision. So I want you to explain, because this has been critical for your career and your success, explain what they offered you and what you didn't get or told them you wanted that they weren't going to give you.
Well, they didn't want to give me and Drew Duck Down Records. They didn't want to give us our own distribution deal. We didn't want a label deal. We didn't want a label deal where they own half the rights and they get the chance, blah, blah, blah. We didn't want an imprint deal where it's just our name, but they own the rights and da, 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 da. We didn't want that. We wanted to come in and say, distribute our record through your system. We'll give you a percentage. And if that's not the case, then we don't care. It just didn't matter. It didn't matter. It did not matter. Like you said, the vision is the key. Giving me $1 million, I've spent $1 million. You spent $1 million. You don't even really notice it. But if you add up all the money in your life, you spent $1 million. And if you add up all the money, some of the other people, they spent $1 million without even knowing it. $50 here, $100 here, $1,000 here, $10,000 here, $4,000 here, $2,000 here, $3,000, $1,000, $5,000. It all adds up. So I knew the long-term vision. The vision was Duck Down. It didn't matter what you gave me. If you offered me $5 million to say, fuck everything you thinking about, come to me, I wouldn't have took it either.
Right.
I wouldn't have took it either.
Yeah, I mean, that's the...
Why would I take a $5 million? Why? Like, why? We need our own movement. We need our own office. We need the power to say when our artist is coming out and when they doing anything, how much freedom they got to write what they want to write, do what they want to do, and look how they want to look, have their videos the way they want it. Record companies control all of that. And I couldn't take none of that. I was like, yo, you can go to the moon and back if you think I care about any money that's going to make me go, all right. You can touch my ass cheek. All right. Like, no.
Right. But I think that's an interesting and a rare thing for a lot of people because I think they get seduced by it.
Some get seduced by it. Some people feel like, hey, I don't have anything else, and this is a job in a way. And these people are offering me $1 million up front to produce 5 albums or 4 albums or whatever their deal was, and they'll get whatever, $1 million per album, $500, $500,000 up front, advance. Then you got to take, $100,000 of that out of your signing bonus. So you really don't get $1 million in cash. You get $1 million allocated to your project. Then out of that, you got to take an advance. That advance is only to give you the opportunity to make the project. How the hell am I make the project if I don't advance my production or my producer the money he wanted to make to give me the beat? I got to pay him. I got to pay the video guy. I got to pay the promotion guys to get out there and bust their ass. I'm going to need money to do that. So the record company has to give you what you call an advance. Here's an advance, upfront money to do that. Go do that, get it done, and then when it's done, we move forward.
Right.
So at advance, there is something called a signing bonus where you can put that in your pocket. But you just did a deal for $1 million. Everybody go, oh, but you got $100,000 in your pocket. Tell the truth. Like, you could have just said, I got $100,000 deal.
Right. Well, that's the, as you and I both know, when they sell these deals in the press, they're very different than what they actually are or how they really work. It's not the same. The perception does not match reality, as you're well aware.
They only sell the money. They've never sold policy. They never promised you anything. You've never heard a record company ever promise anybody anything except for cash. You've never heard that.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
There's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.